family.
Hey, welcome to the CAUSENETIC podcast.
Causenetic means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energizing.
Hey, we're tackling topics and telling the truth.
I'm Roderick Ross.
And I'm Keith Benson.
So today, our topic is decent disruption. I love it. It is this whole idea of when is it in accordance and when is it right and when is it the right thing to start trouble, to shake things up, to just not maintain the status quo.
And so this, my man John Lewis.
Rest in peace.
Yes, he talked about this good trouble.
Good trouble.
Yeah, we should all strive to be.
They have T-shirts, sweatshirts, like it's a whole
It's
merch
a whole thing.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
And we gotta always stay in
good trouble.
Good trouble.
Okay.
So you gotta remember that because
I stay in good trouble.
You stir up the pot. You keep the pot stirring. That cook never stops in there.
Well, I'm okay.
Well, I also
unapologetic.
Unapologetic.
Yes.
This author named Lovie Jones. She has a book out called Professional Troublemaker.
Professional Troublemaker. I like that.
Yeah, and it's all about creating a life that is authentic, that's bold, purposeful. Takes audacity. I like that audacity thing. The audacity to get in trouble.
The unmitigated gall,
to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so in disrupting things in such a way that are really going to move things forward.
Yeah. Despite, and we've talked about this before, this whole idea of fear, right? And getting past your own trepidation and getting past your fear in spite of you being a little bit cautious or hesitant. Now, that doesn't mean reckless. Right? But it's not necessarily about you trying to reach fearlessness. It's about you learning the behaviors and learning to be brave and doing it and still being scared. It's not an either or. It's an and kind of thing, right? I'm going to do this and I'm scared to death. Which is how I feel many days.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm going to introduce this. I'm going to say it out loud. Like, have you ever been in a meeting and something just hits you? And first of all, you don't really pause in meetings. You are a proponent of putting your voice into space. But, just humor me for a minute. You've been in a meeting and you hear something about a direction, a strategy, someone said something, there was an interaction, and you really need to say something about it. You really need to address it, but there's something that's like, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Do you do it anyway?
But here's the thing, is that what I do is a few questions that I ask myself.
Okay.
That to help me to process, what's going on at that moment. Also to help me to move, period, right?
Okay.
So questions come like, all right, do you really mean this? Do you believe in, what you're about to say?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. So you're not just performing. It's not performing. That's a good one.
Right, because some people just speak out and just blurt things. I'm all, like you said, a proponent of putting your voice in the room, but you can't just be saying something off the top of your head. You better make sure what's coming out your mouth, you better come with some meaning.
You better mean that thing, huh?
That's right.
Huh.
Because you're going to have to come back and defend that at some point.
Yeah.
And so, or else you get this reputation that you just talk.
That's a good one. Like, am I really connected or am I just trying to, in the moment, this is sexy right now, I'm just trying to perform? That's a good one.
Right. Ask that question also that, can you defend what you're about to say? Like, what is your facts? What is your base? What is your foundation for bringing up what you're about to challenge right here?
I had a good Y mentor. We were talking about something. They was like, always ask yourself, is this evidence-based, right? So is what you're saying, is what you're trying to defend evidence-based? Then if it is, what's the evidence?
Right, because questions are going to come back. And you got to be ready for that.
That's
because
true.
You're going to challenge something, expect for questions to come back. And the questions are not in a bad way, but it's just, hey, prove to me what you're saying. Help me to understand what you're stating right now. And then, can I stand in it to justify it? So can you really justify what is being said right here? Or again, are you just talking out the side of your neck? Because if you're that person that just talks, out the side of your neck, your voice gets very minimal in conversations, right?
It's like the story, the boy who cried wolf, right?
Yeah.
One time you could actually be saying something worth listening to, but people just like, here we go again.
But can you say it also with love?
Can you? Can you?
Yeah, I can say it with love because because it's not
the face gonna say it with love too?
No, but so here's the deal: is that your actions, your previous actions, and your reputation at the match was coming out.
Well, no, that's very true.
Because people will listen to you if they know how authentic that you are, right? At all times, and that you're consistent with what you're saying and with what you're doing also.
I don't know. I think that many times people don't listen. Like, they just only see, or they focus in. It's not what you say, it's what you do, right? And so if those things are not complementing one another, that's a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, because are your intentions good? But what you're saying, are you just trying to be messy? Or do you really mean what you're saying?
I had the opportunity to talk with a colleague the other day about something that they were really pushing on. And, at the onset of the conversation, I'm just listening, right? I'm just listening back and forth on what they're pushing on. But then it struck me, and I had to have a side conversation. I said, so help me understand, are you pushing to be petty, or are you pushing for a purpose? Because those are two different things. If
purpose
you're just
and
trying,
petty.
Right? If you're just trying to be messy right now, okay, I'm going to give you your 30 seconds, get it out your system, it's over and it's done. But if it's for a purpose, then you might get a little bit more leeway to kind of push and be assertive. But I don't think people ask themselves that question and are real with themselves, because as human beings, everyone has these emotional responses, right? And sometimes you are pushing just because it hit your personal nerve, and you just want somebody else to feel the way you're feeling, and you're being a little bit petty, a little messy.
So let me ask, do you get people to come at you with petty stuff and purposeful stuff, or just more purpose than petty?
I think they come to me with more petty stuff. They think it's purposeful, but it's not. It is very much self-centered, or very much driven towards, I want people to do these things so it can make me comfortable, as opposed to, let's do things that are for the greater good. Unfortunately. But now I will say, though, that when you kind of explain that to people, or when you bring that to their attention, I very much see people have these aha moments like, oh, yeah, that was a little bit self-serving, huh? That was kind of petty, even though at the time they thought, oh yeah, I have this grand idea. This is going to change the world. No, it's going to change your world.
Right.
It's not going to change the world for the better. So it just depends on how receptive, how emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent the person is to kind of receive the feedback.
So I guess that's a question also. Is this petty, or is this purposeful?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But all of it is in service to disruption in a decent way. Like they say in the church, decent and in order.
Decent and in order.
And in order.
And let the church say.
Well, amen.
But when you talk about decent disruption also, like, you got to be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you may be out there alone on a particular issue.
But come on, that sounds so much easier when you say it than to actually do it. Who's comfortable being uncomfortable? You comfortable being uncomfortable? You like that?
I'm okay with it because I know I'm purposeful about what I do.
Well, I guess.
I think if you take maybe your quiet person, your introvert, maybe, they're not the ones that speak out that much. That maybe they're more in a closed circle. You got to be really close to them. Maybe they're uncomfortable putting that voice in the big room.
Yeah. And so you're advocating that, look, we know you're uncomfortable. We know that's not your desired state, but you got to lean in and work through it. You just got to get comfortable with the fact that it's going to happen. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be on your learning edge, but you can't let that paralyze you, and you can't let it squash your voice.
Because if you sit in the workplace in particular and do that and only deal with these things at home, I don't care what job you go to, it's going to follow you. And so you go from you at your current job right now and you say, oh, well, it's the organization. And you talk about it at home and you don't deal with it at work. Well, I'm going to go to somewhere else. It's going to peep its head up in some way.
Yeah.
And so you got to figure out, how can I put my voice in this space that I can cause some decent disruption?
Yeah, that is very true. I have absolutely heard where there was something that was going on in an organization or in a company that a person really just didn't like, and so their answer was, well, I'm just going to go work somewhere else. And in many instances, sometimes that's a good move, but more times than not, you will find that some iteration of that very same problem is going to exist in the next company you're in, and at some point, you're either going to run out of places to hop to, right? Or people are going to be like, why are you hopping around so much? Like, what are you running from, as opposed to just maybe putting a stake in the ground a little bit and helping to disrupt that or keep it from happening, or even bring it to someone's attention. Like, who knows? Maybe this thing is so embedded, whatever it is, in the culture of the organization, people are nose blind. Like that Febreze commercial, they don't even know it's there anymore, right? Like, they're nose blind. Like, what are you talking about? And because you're new and you can see it, you have a much better opportunity to kind of make people aware that stuff is happening.
And
but getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I mean, because, if you ask for something, okay, they can say no. Like, all right, you still in the same place?
I'm devastated. Don't say no. My feelings are so personally hurt.
What?
By no.
It's not you personally, right? It's whatever the situation may be. It may just be no for right now.
Oh, so it's not no, it's not now. I can live with that.
Right. And so
I can live with that.
So how do you, ask those questions? How do you bring up these situations and such that you can cause some change, in your space that you're in? Because if you don't, things will stay the same. And sometimes I think that because no one ever said anything about it, everybody's just operating as the norm.
Waiting for somebody else to say it, right?
Yeah, or they may not even know it's a problem.
Nose blind.
Because it's been going on for years and years and years, right?
I said it.
So
That's true.
Somebody has to bring it up, and then it's not about stirring up the pot. When I say stirring up the pot, in this decent disruption type of way.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't always have to be on this negative vibe when we're talking about disruption.
Okay, so talk to me about a positive vibe kind of disruption.
A positive vibe disruption.
Yeah, a decent disruption that it's not negative. It's not coming from a negative. Oh, I think I have one.
Okay, what you got?
Decent disruption. This hybrid work concept. I think that is a decent disruption in that it is really honoring the way that people are most productive in a very different way than we've ever seen than I've ever seen in my career, right? And I still got some decades to keep working. However,
you've been working a couple of decades
I've been working a minute or two. But this whole idea of disrupting what a typical work day or work setting or work behaviors, right? And really shifting the focus to productivity and outputs. Like, look, we need A, B, C, D, and E done. Just make sure A, B, and C, D, and E are done by Friday. But we're no longer saying it has to be done by Friday with you sitting at this desk wearing these kind of clothes during these business hours with natural color hair. Like, you could be at home with pink hair now, right? And your fuzzy slippers and your pajama pants on, and you are so creative and so innovative and you're getting the most work done. Like, disrupting that whole antiquated idea of what a good work environment should be, or how to honor each person's individual work style to some degree, I think is a decent disruption.
It is, and so it's like we don't avoid the conversation, but we gotta let's talk about it. Let's see what this looks like, because I'm not a proponent that 100% of all workforces need to be working the house.
Absolutely
right?
not. No, there are some jobs you need to be there.
Right.
Like, if I need my bandage changed, how you gonna change my Band-Aid from at your house? And I'm at the hospital.
Well, yeah, I guess we can go Zoom and Miss Ross.
Take the edge. Use the peroxide. I'll be like, I'm going down if y'all expect me to change my own stuff.
So the pandemic has allowed that particular conversation to be able to come up and be more relevant. And some people pushing the, hey, come back to the office, because there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
So just yesterday, before the pandemic, like, we weren't living that world. I mean, working at home was a thing, but pandemic made everybody.
It was
work
the
from home.
thing then.
And so now that things are moving to a place that people are coming back. All right, let's at least let's have the conversation.
Yeah, or put the option on it. Like, it wasn't even so much of an option before. But the way we use technology and the way, I think some of it was stemmed in this, what people proved to be was an unfounded fear that, if you let people work remote, they're going to be slacking off and we're not going to get the same productivity and things aren't going to get done. And data is showing us that the opposite happened. People were more productive. They were more innovative. They were getting more things done. They were happier. Their well-being was better. We moved from this work-life, and I've been saying it, this work-life balance ideology to this work-life integration ideology. And so now when we are thinking about people coming back into formalized workspaces, we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but at least we got options now, because there are definitely some people who thrive in I need the scheduling, and I like the continuity and the predictability of, I get up at this time, I drink my coffee at this time, I get in my car at this time, I sit at my desk. Right. For some people, that's excellent. For other people, they're like, look, I do my best work at 2:00 in the morning after I slept in late, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
so,
and again, bring up the conversation.
Yeah,
you can have that, and again, that's that decent disruption in that space right there. I think about with the YMCA, and I think about how we are a sales organization. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about membership, that's something that people got to buy. Mm-hmm. When we talk about our programs, it's playing basketball, you're in the swimming pool taking lessons, that's a sale. When we talk about fundraising, like, that's a sale. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we see sales as a bad word, in the YMCA.
You think of like the used car salesman with the bad toupee, Soja lemon.
Exactly. And so when we talk about, at the end of the day, we got to hold people accountable for that. But when we use the word sales, people think like, well, what about our mission? And it's like, all right, do we just throw the word sales out? Whatever word you want to use, let's come back to a place, though.
Acquisition.
Yeah, whatever
right?
you want to use. The accountability at the end of the day is that we got to be able to sell memberships.
Generate
we got to be able to sell programs, okay?
Yeah.
Let's call it generate revenue if we don't want to use it. We're not used car people. We are people that are called to an organization and to this workplace to be able to carry out something that's going to impact the lives of people.
So the decent disruption in that scenario is to challenging the narrative around sales or selling of stuff. Yeah. Like, sales is not a it's a 4-letter word in YMCA.
Right.
Sales.
Right. We're going to go with sales, but we ain't going to change those other 3 letters after S, okay?
It's profanity. You can't say the S word and the Y.
But the accountability has to be there for that right there. And, we got to just, again, be able to have that conversation around that.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, particularly in the YMCA when you're talking about decent disruptions. I think the one thing that I would caution folks, or at least be mindful of, is prioritizing relationships, right? Because that whole transformational aspect of what we do is really deeply rooted in the relationships that we can make, either with people in the community, with our co-workers, with folks with other, folks across the movement who are doing the work. And so when you are in this decent disruption space and you're pushing, which we should, like I learned in UIR, Undoing Institutionalized Racism, this loving criticizer of the stuff is like, no, I'm telling you the things that I see that aren't working well, because I love this organization. I'm not doing it just to be petty to push, petty for a purpose, but really prioritizing relationships and all that, and using your emotional maturity and your emotional intelligence. Like, you may be really talking about something good, but maybe your timing is off, right? Like, read how the other person, people process differently. Like, read how they're taking in the information. Honor how other folks hear and feel and what their connection is to whatever it is you're saying. Like, someone whose whole career was built on one thing, and they've amassed a lot of success, and they're deeply connected to it, and now you saying you want to kind of blow that thing up, inadvertently they may be thinking, oh, they want to blow me up.
Right,
they want to get rid of me.
Right,
like, they're saying all of my contributions were insignificant and all that kind of stuff. So when you're thinking about decent disruption, always, not even in the back of your mind, like right there beside it, you should be thinking about, in doing so, how do I prioritize relationships through the process?
And when we talk about decent disruption, we're not talking about this one-time thing. It's like your work style, your lifestyle has to be lived in such a way that when you start your disruption, people will be able to respect you.
Okay, you gotta tell me more about that.
Well, it is very hard for you to all of a sudden try to blow something up in a room, and when people look at the way you've produced or have not produced in the workspace in particular, is that it's hard to respect that. You're saying you want to change this, but yet your work, the way that you work, is not even in the same movement as what you're trying to disrupt right here. Because you're not even going to hold yourself accountable for what you're talking about.
I had a person who called themselves helping me, because I'm always on this, okay, I gotta lose 20 pounds by next week kind of thing. That's a whole different podcast, but I'm always on that. So one time I had this self-proclaimed, right, member that always came into my branch. Oh, I'm gonna give you the tips. I'm gonna tell you what to do. You gotta drink a lot of water. You gotta drink plenty of water. You gotta drink a gallon of water a day. And I said to myself, every time I see this joker, he got a big red or Mountain Dew or something in his hand. How is he gonna tell me that I need to drink more water and I'm supposed to accept it because he's a health and wellness guru?
Well, he drink carbonated.
Oh, that's what we call it. Don't co-sign that mess.
With a little flavor to it.
You don't co-sign that mess. But as soon as you said that, I totally got that. I was like, you sure right. Like, you can't say one thing and be a proponent, and then if people look at you and be like, how you know? You don't do those things. You don't live that way. Like, who are you to be a content expert in this particular disruption?
Right. So we gotta be able to be a disruptor, and it's okay to be a disruptor. Be bold. Have the audacity to be able to disrupt.
Is this gonna be your 2022 word?
I don't know. I'm feeling that a little bit. I'm feeling it a little bit.
We're gonna t-shirtize that thing. Audacity. I have a baseball cap that says the audacity.
Okay.
Right?
Well,
I'm gonna wear
rock that one time. What?
No.
Yeah.
I got a whole outfit around it.
Okay.
Really?
Okay. You probably wouldn't fit my head anyway.
Yeah, well, you probably. What? Hold on. Wait.
Hey, CAUSENETIC family. Hey, thanks for listening to us today
on this episode of Decent Disruption.
Hey, subscribe and listen to us weekly.
And don't be shy. Give us a 5-star review.
And as always,
be dynamic.
be phenomenal.
Be CAUSENETIC.